welcome back to my channel. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a lovely weekend. Obviously, well, I'm assuming this vlog's going to go out on Sunday, so I imagine most of you might be watching the football or the tennis or whatever else might be on. It's a very sporting weekend here in the UK, isn't it? You know it's early because my eyes still haven't opened properly. I was looking at myself in the camera earlier and I was like, why are my eyes so squinty? But it's bright and it's just still early and they're just not opened yet. I'm in my little bit of the garden. It's been new to me this year. You can see this lovely little brick wall that was built and it's kind of flourished so quickly. I've got my beans at the back there and some, now I can't, thank you cars, I can't actually remember what these are. It's either broccoli or I don't think it's a cabbage, I think it's a broccoli by the looks of it. They're just loving it, and the most gorgeous compassion rose at the back there. It smells divine. But my thing that I love the most, look at these red cabbages. Aren't they incredible? They just look like an amazing plant for the garden because they're sort of so dramatic and so beautiful. Anyway, I am going to take you along with a Sienna schooling session today. It's all done in walk. There's kind of two parts to it, so I'm going to explain why I do it the way I do it. Didn't help that the dog asked to go out at 5 o'clock this morning, which she rarely ever does, but if she is going to do it, she only does it on a weekend, because why wouldn't you? And I knew as soon as she asked, I was like, no, because as soon as I get up, Sienna's stable looks directly into my kitchen, and as soon as I move, Sienna's like, yeah, right, day started, right. She starts sort of banging around and wanting my attention and wanting more food. So we had that from 5 o'clock this morning. So I like to split Sienna's schooling sessions into two parts. The first part being a bit of in-hand work, the second part being ridden. Now the in-hand bit at the beginning, great if you've got quite a spirited horse that perhaps needs to just, take a little bit of energy off of them first before you get on board. Also great for giving them a really good warm-up, especially if you've got a horse that perhaps has kissing spine or SI issues, or maybe it's just really cold-backed. I find a little bit of in-hand work first can be really helpful with that. And it's sometimes nicer not to have to just lunge them all the time, because I do think lunging, you're more likely to get injuries with lunging your horse than you are doing in-hand walk work or even in-hand trot work. And then secondly, for me, working her in hand, I can see how much she's using her body. I can also direct her better than when I'm on board. And when it comes to things like lateral work, so shoulder in, leg yield, I can get much better angles from her when I'm on the ground. I can really keep an eye on her hind quarters. I can really make sure she's kind of crossing over behind and that kind of thing. Whereas when I'm in the saddle, I don't have that ability as much. So I just find the quality of the work can be sometimes better when it's in hand than when I'm on board. But I just find, the combination of the two works really well. There's many reasons why you might choose to do a full schooling session just in walk with your horse. It might be that you're injured and you can only do walk work. It might be that your horse is rehabbing. It's also a great way to help improve your horse's walk when it comes to doing dressage tests. How often when you're doing a schooling session do you actually spend that much time concentrating on your horse's walk and going from medium walk to long rein walk to collected walk to extended walk? Quite rarely. I mean, imagine people spend on average like 3 or 4 minutes on their walk. Most of the time it's just letting their horse stretch down after it's done some hard movements. And so doing a whole schooling session in walk can really improve your horse's walk when it then comes to competing. So with her, I wouldn't say Sienna loves doing dressage in-hand work. I think she finds it quite uninteresting, which is why she has that slightly vacant look on her face. But I tend to try and work on her suppleness, halts, rein back, just getting her to listen to me. Also really good at warming her up, so just a good way of getting her back moving before I get on board. It's a nice opportunity for me to also really look at the way she's moving, how she's putting her feet down. Is she looking particularly tight on one rein more than another? Is she more resistant on one rein than the other? Here you can see I'm just doing a few small circles between the poles, so the poles are stopping her from drifting as much and just helping me out. You can see here she is supple in that she can bend her neck really well, but actually she's not truly bending through her rib cage and her body, and she's quite crafty in that she will just bend her neck a lot and kind of go, there you go, I'm doing it, when she's actually not truly using her body, which is why I find ground works better, because I can either direct with my hand or the whip kind of into her rib cage and be like, come on, this is where we need to get you bending more. Here I'm doing a bit of a turn on the forehand. She finds this really difficult. You'll see actually as she steps over behind, she doesn't find it easy in the slightest. It's quite a workout for her, and you really think when they're stepping over that acutely, they have to really lift their feet up. They're really engaging their hind core, and it can be uncomfortable. And remember, she's a horse that does have issues with her SIs, so it's slow progress. And I often have to use a stick just to watch that she doesn't then fall out of her outside shoulder, because she will do that. When it comes to lateral work and in-hand work, I think horses tend to rush it and overbend, try and get through it quicker, because actually lateral work in walk is nearly harder than doing it in trot and canter, because in trot and canter you've got the momentum to help push them along, whereas in walk it's so much slower, and the horse physically lifting their feet up and having to put themselves in the position can take a lot out of them. And I find this with Sienna, she can get a little bit frustrated when we're doing those sorts of movements with her. So I'd say this in-hand session was about 15 minutes, and then I jumped on board. She's such a good girl, she stands like a rock next to the fence, and kind of repeat all the work I've done in hand then on board. So I'll do some serpentines. Now here I realised that the saddle pad had slipped back, so fixed that, got back on board again. I like to do lots of serpentines, so lots of changing the bend for horses that can lack a bit of suppleness. I'm looking for her neck and head to be in the kind of like 3 o'clock frame, but she does sometimes drop below that, and I'm not massively bothered at the moment about where her head and neck are. As long as she's not got it high in the air, I'm pretty chilled with it. So you can see here I'm just doing a few circles. I'm looking for a kind of relaxed, soft walk. I'm looking for her to stay in like an even rhythm, that she's kind of quiet and relaxed in the contact. She is a horse that rolls her tongue quite a lot. You'll see it pop out every now and then. We're still trying to figure out if that is tension from something she's feeling, or we've not always had the best experiences in the arenas, so it's also just, I think it's anxiety of being in there. Here you can see I'm doing a few steps of leg yield, but you can see it's nowhere near as strong as when I did it in hand. But that's fine. I don't need it to be, I don't need to ask for massive bits of leg yield when I'm on board. Here we're just doing a little bit of rein back. She's actually very good at this in hand, but she's not as strong when I'm sat on board. So again, just repeating all the exercises I've been doing in hand, now sat on board, practicing those halts, making sure she gets lots of reward. But I can easily do a whole walk session schooling in hand and ridden for 30-40 minutes, changing the bend a lot. There's just so much that can be done. Turning on the hindquarters, so sort of doing little half walk pirouettes. Again, none of it's perfect, but it's all about working on teaching her to use her body better and for her to feel comfortable when she's doing it. And obviously long term for me is to strengthen the muscles over her back, get her to use her core and really start to engage the hindquarters. And she has, as I've said, got quite a weak hindquarter on her. She struggles to take weight behind and push off behind and engage her core. So all this work really helps with that. Like I said, do lots of serpentines, lots of changing the bend, and also playing around with the walk. So going from long rein walk to medium walk. So collecting her back up, letting her drop down again, collecting her back up without any tension, without her jogging, without her anticipating, and just mixing it up, never spending too long on one thing. Thanks for watching, guys.